Hello everybody and welcome to Paragade After Hours, a podcast where we talk about nerdy shit, video game shit, and just with like a good heaping spoonful of that good old rainbow goodness gay. I'm your host Joe, and this week I am joined by
Mael. Hello.
So Mael, this week we decided to go ahead and branch out a little bit, get something a little bit more refreshing.
Yeah, so I'm now on a highball kick. So today we are drinking some sake highball. And the reason we're going with sake is because this is an all-anime episode.
Ah, yes. So we are only talking about anime. We're going to be talking about specifically some bad anime. One specific bad anime we partook in at least 3 episodes of.
So let's just say that the first part of this episode will be about terrible anime, and then we will top it off and round it off with some good anime.
Yeah.
So, story time.
Ah, yes, story time. So, friend of the show, Mandy, Candy, Blandy, Fandy, Brandy, she texts me after work one day, and she's like, Joe, I almost had a heart attack today. And I'm like, why, Brandy? She's like, well, earlier in the day, I was speaking with one of my friends, and I stumbled upon on Tumblr this really fucking funny gif of, like, a Final Fantasy dude just sucking on a girl's titty, to get superpowers, and then just, like, Iron Man jump out of there. And I sent it to her. I was like, that's funny. And then later on in the day, she needed to text her mom. And she was going to copy and paste, like, basically the amount of
something or
something,
other.
Yeah. And when she pasted it, because it was in Facebook Messenger, goes to the link of that GIF, gives her a good old preview of good old anime titty sucking, and she froze for a good solid 5 minutes. And just deleted it, restarted her computer, took about a 10-minute break, came back, took a deep breath, and then typed up the message.
She was like telling us how panicked she was. I like copied and pasted something just to make sure that the anime titties were so gone. And I'm just like, boy, that's a feel. But that's the thing, is that when you described this to me, Joe, this interaction you had with Brandy, I was like, oh yeah, there's an anime that's the plot. That's the plot, is Final Fantasy dude sucks on girl titty and gains superpowers. So
I'm, of course, just like, well, now I gotta find it. Yeah. So, like, we didn't know the title at the time.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is that, like, you didn't know the title. I had a vague inkling of this thing, so I'm like, just Google it. Just Google anime titty suck superpower. And of course, it came up.
And it's Qwaser of the Stigmata.
Or Sekion
no Qwaser.
Yeah, Sekion no Qwaser if you are a weeb.
Okay.
And I just like that later on, talking to Brandy about it, she's like, of course M would know this thing. Of course Mael would know this thing, because I am notorious for showing both Joe and Brandy terrible anime.
Just
really terrible anime. And this joins the list.
It really...
This joins the list of my top 10 worst anime that I have shown Joe and Brandy.
So, okay, I feel like questions for kind of you and me here. What do you feel like is the appeal of watching this, aside from the obvious of just titillation,
apparently plot.
Huh?
So many of the terrible animes that I have shown my friends usually do involve some kind of ecchi hentai thing.
Yeah.
But it also has an intense plot, and so these things are at odds with each other, and this one is no exception. This anime has weird overtones of religion and like this whole fucking lore and shit, and you're just like, but we're sucking on titties. That's the premise of the show. And so, you know, it's such a weird and crazy thing. And so basically, I was like, we can't not watch this all together. And so we finally did it, and we sat down on Easter Sunday with several bottles of Jesus's blood, aka wine. And we partook in several episodes of this thing. While drinking to forget that we had partaken in several episodes of this thing. We haven't forgotten it, and that's why we're going to talk about it, and just how bad it is, and some of the things. So Joe, what was your takeaway as the general synopsis?
So, I mean, like, you know, it has this plot of, like, this kid who's, like, an alchemist or something, and apparently he's, like, I don't know, named after... his name's Sasha.
His name is Sasha. He's got 5 other names, but Sasha's the one we're gonna go with in this podcast.
So, Sasha, it's like he's, you know, he's a super soldier or something, and the way he gains powers is through, like, iron, but specifically iron through blood, but, you know, instead of making it weird, like a vampire or something, no, the way he gets it is through, sucks on these titties, and
with that, he then suddenly has the power of Iron Man!
Like, he's able to go ahead and just, like, shapeshift it and everything, and then he becomes, like, you know, fucking Edward Elric, where it's just like, sword, or spear, or scythe, because of course it's a fucking scythe, because he's an edgy boy.
Yeah, well, and then, you know, if he goes, you know, for very long between breastfeedings, he, passes out.
Like, oh my god. So, like, my takeaway from this was that it was very much, weirdly enough, an anime that is very much on, like, it's not even on the boundary. It's just, like, it's got, like, you know, like, more than half of, like, its body over the hentai line. And I found myself just, like, my immediate thought when I saw, when I was looking at the first episode was like, oh, I gotta watch this with, like, everybody I know. I gotta go ahead and take them into this hell with me.
Like I am going straight to hell, and I'm gonna make sure as I take as many people with me as humanly possible.
And like
which is I just gotta say is how I approach life, because that is everything. That is exactly what I have done to you and Brandy and Sky, like all of the other people who've been on this podcast. This is what I've done to all of you for the last several years of your lives.
It's just like you dragged us to anime hell.
Yeah, I've just been like, oh, you like good anime? Well, how about we watch Ainu Kusabe?
No, listen, that is a whole nother episode.
Yeah, well, no.
We'll dive into that.
We'll have to dive into that one another time. But basically, I have dragged all of you to anime hell with me.
But I guess that's kind of like the main appeal of like this particular like anime, because I mean, like, I feel like my problem with like something like I Know Kasabe or any of like those old like 90s like just bad anime
is that there's nothing redeeming about them as far as you can see.
Nothing. Well, it's not that there's nothing redeeming about it. There is definitely something about it in that, like, you know, like I Know Kasabe, as much as I give it shit, it's like, that's a weird and interesting premise. I feel like this could go in interesting places. It doesn't, but it goes somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, with something like, you know, Qwaser or the Stigmata, one, the fucking plot is so goddamn convoluted, when, honestly, it's just like, this was an excuse to get some kid to suck on some girl's titties. That's it. That's all this is. This is just a convoluted excuse. And also, why does it have a good animation budget?
Yeah.
Why? That was the thing that, like, I guess, not frustrates me, but puzzles me.
Yeah.
Is, like, I want to know, where did the money come from?
How this came to be. Yeah, so I guess what I am gleaning from this is that, so as far as a lot of other these quintessential bad ecchi animes.
Yeah.
A lot of them are older and have or have terrible animation.
Yeah.
And so the only thing that is redeeming about them up front is the view of tits or other genitalia, and then maybe some really, really, really weird plots.
Yeah.
Whereas this one has all of that, but also a incredible anime budget, like incredible budget and bouncing boobs, and the nipples have their own physics, and yeah, it's and like really well done battle sequences, like really well good done. Like good animation that I wish that Tokyo Ghoul had.
Oh my god.
Like the anime budget that I wish Tokyo Ghoul season 2 had, or you know, Black Butler had, like where this money could have gone to a better plot and less boobs. But no, here it is, despite all odds, despite ecchi and hentai having notoriously low budgets, this one has a budget, and not only that, it has a budget for animation and a budget for voice actors. There are some very prominent really voice actors in this. So that's the thing that is most perplexing about this. Would you agree?
Yeah, it really. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pull a quick Google search now, because I do want to know what studio did this. Let's see. Qwaser, the Stigmata, manga, anime was done by Hood's Entertainment. What's Hood's Entertainment?
Obviously not a big studio, but...
No. Yeah, there's nothing here that I recognize.
Yeah, but we looked up, and you guys can look this up too. The voice actors and actresses are actually prominent, like, people. They've done larger roles. Like, one of the characters is the main character from K-On!
Yeah.
You know, like like we have some really prominent voice actors, some obviously incredible talent in the animation department.
Yeah.
Like, where did any of this come from, and how did it end up here?
So here was at least my headcanon as
yeah.
My headcanon is that, like, you know, like how, like, you just have some of those, like, mafia or just fucking Yakuza people who are just really into certain shit, and they're just like, I want to dump a whole bunch of money into this shit that I like, and sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with, like, drugs or anything like that. I like to imagine this Yakuza, this fucking, like, son of, like, a Yakuza boss, fucking was, like, reading this manga, and he's like, yo, Dad, what? Can we make this into an anime? And they're like, I mean, I guess. And then they just hold up this anime studio. Either that, or the anime studio was just, like, kind of in, like, a bad place. And, like, yo, here's some Yakuza money. And they're like, yo, that's a black budget right there. And then that's where all the money came from. Because I don't see, like, even in, like, you know, the kind of, like, you know, like, even the kind of market that, like, Japan is in, that this would have gotten green-lighted.
Yeah.
Where, like, it aired on TV. Like, no.
Yeah. You know, I think the one thing, though, the most perplexing thing to a lot of us was that it was on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
It was uncensored on Hulu.
Oh my god.
Like, that's the thing. I was looking up, where do I watch this anime other than the obvious bootleg sites?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's on Hulu. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And it's like, oh yes, both seasons are on Hulu. And I'm like, this had 2 seasons?
It had 2 seasons, and I'm over here crying because, like, Iron Blood Orphans can't get a fucking movie. And I'm just like, how? But then again, Iron Blood Orphans didn't have as much titties, I guess. It had more muscles, but it didn't have as much titties.
Isn't that really the issue that we have to live with, Joe? That our favorite baras never get enough money.
Like, okay, so
that titty is more profitable than bara.
So kind of tying this into bad anime.
Yeah.
Because can't talk about baras and bad anime without going into Berserk.
Yes.
The Berserk anime. the one that came out, what was it, 2016?
Mm-hmm. Well, at least that iteration that you want to talk about, yes.
Yes. No. Like, I have nothing but good things to say about the movies. I also have a lot of problematic things to say about the movies.
Well, and as far as, like, the manga itself and the original content, like this is, when we talk about Berserk being bad, we're very specifically talking about new Berserk. And imagine if Berserk had the budget of Qwaser, the Stigmata.
God. Yeah. Don't tantalize me with that fucking, other universe where, like, Berserk got the budget it deserved.
Yeah. So for a brief history is, Berserk is a very, very, violent and iconic manga and anime series. Berserk is really well known, much like Devilman, for being violent, for being intricate and long running. And Berserk has a notorious streak of having terrible anime adaptations. Like CG, terrible, I'm gonna vomit comet fucking animation.
So that was just it. It's like the movies, like, they blended the CG and they blended, like, the 2D animation, and there were a lot of scenes where it worked. And it felt like there was an attempt, right? It felt like, there was this attempt.
They at least tried. Yeah. Unlike the anime, the 2016 anime, which I cannot watch because I literally was going to throw up watching it with Joe.
And I remember watching the first episode because it was all the first episode was completely on YouTube, and it had been there for a good long while, and I was thinking to myself, like, why haven't they taken this down yet? Like, usually YouTube's good about this shit. And then it's like, I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's why, because they're trying to get anything that they can get from people watching this. And it's just, so, I kind of talk about this because, one, I'm like, Berserk, and there will definitely be an episode where we just talk about Berserk and my complex relationship with that.
Yeah, thing. I think that would be a good episode for you and Sky to get together.
Oh God, yeah.
Because I am not as well versed on Berserk, whereas other friend of the show, Sky, is a huge fan of that show.
But I kind of talk about this because a lot of the same reasons that I felt like I watched the entirety of the Berserk anime. Not because, I really like Berserk, but two, because I wanted to see how bad it got. Like, there was this kind of, morbid curiosity of just, where does it go from here?
And how bad did it get, Joe?
So the second season, at least they attempted to have cinematography, finally. But the first season was just like, what's cinematography?
Let's just spin the camera around several times while Guts is swinging his sword. How about that? How about we just spin the camera around for 5 seconds? How is that going to make people feel?
So, I guess it's just kind of pulling it back to, why do we watch bad anime?
Why do we watch bad anime, Joe?
Alright, let me ask you that question first.
I am the expert in this case. So I guess I'll say that I got my start watching, as a lot of American kids did, watching Toonami and whatnot, and watching good classics.
Yeah.
But then when I discovered what anime was, I was kind of given some cheap old manga, and basically then from there I just started looking up this stuff. And so I didn't necessarily know where to start. It was just there were not many people telling me, oh, you gotta watch this, oh, you gotta watch that, oh, you gotta watch this. So I was basically, at the time, finding whatever website or whatever live journals linking me to this, that, or the other manga, or this, that, and the other anime. And so I kind of had a rough start of just watching a lot of weird things as far as when I really started to partake in anime. and a lot of it was actually anime adaptations of visual novels, which are always story-wise interesting, but almost always fall flat in some shape or form, mainly because the protagonist of the series is going to be a flat slate, and everyone else is going to be interesting because it's a light novel kind of thing, and if you're playing as the main protagonist, you know, that kind of stuff. So I kind of got my start with that in watching weird, obscure animes that I don't think a lot of other people watched. And then I would get myself into, like, watching Ouran High School Host Club, and then getting to watch Naruto and stuff like that. But like I said, like, I started off watching these things and legitimately liking these weird and, you know, not as good animes. And so then I started watching better anime, but I was still watching these other cheaper, lower tier ones and still enjoying them. And then there came a point where I was like, well, F it. I can still enjoy these things, even though I know how not good they are.
Right.
And so from there, I've been more open to exploring all anime, even if I don't think something is quote-unquote the best or artistic or something. I'm willing to watch it. And so I kind of ended up in this deep dive of, like, weird and terrible anime when I really got into watching yaoi. Because I was curious. I was gender curious and sexually curious. And as I put to Joe, I can't believe that we are not referring to people who are questioning their gender and sexuality as queerious.
Oh God, you were waiting. You were like, man, I'm going to insert this joke somewhere. You did this.
I did this. So anyway, I was queerious, and so I got really into watching yaoi. And if anyone knows anything about yaoi manga and anime, they're bad. They're so bad. And I love them. There's always parts of me that still, like, okay, there's things that I like about this. It's really bad, but I'm enjoying myself. And so I kind of got this, like, extra boost of, like, I enjoy watching bad anime because I know it's bad. I know that when I like something of it, I know that it's stupid to like it. But so it's such a weird and complicated relationship, but it's like I get a thrill out of, like, man, I'm like the only person who actually really legitimately likes this and also knows it's garbage.
Well, I mean, like, you know, it's like, it's not necessarily stupid to like it. It's just that, like, you know, it is being self-aware and be like, God, this is hot garbage, dude.
Yeah.
But this is my garbage.
It's a special kind of guilty pleasure. Yeah. Most people's guilty pleasure is, like,
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, well, like, I like this thing and I just like it, okay? It's like, my guilty pleasure is, I like this thing, I want you to experience it and tell me that, yes, it is awful hot garbage.
Oh my God.
Like, I know it's hot garbage, and I love it. And so that's the thing, is that eventually we will talk about Ainu Kasabe.
Right.
But I will tell you guys up front, if you know what I'm talking about, Ainu Kasabe, and Joe knows what I'm talking about.
I do.
I legitimately love that anime, and the lore of it. I love it. And I know that it's hot, steaming garbage. It is a pile of dog shit, and I'm so in love with it.
See, like, I remember you telling me about this. I looked at the manga, and the manga appealed a lot more to my sensibilities.
Yeah, no, and I love the manga, too. I love the manga, I love the original anime, and I love the, like, was it 2015, OVAs of it.
Oh my God.
It's garbage. I love it. It's garbage, and I love it. It's my garbage.
Like, and I feel like, you know, my relationship with bad anime in particular, and it's kind of like, again, like some of those anime that are just fun to watch that are bad. Like,
yeah.
You know, like Berserk is so much more fun to watch with someone whose stomach can't handle that. Because we're all sitting here just, like, looking at the sock puppet guts, like, jitter across the screen, and we're like, holy shit!
Yeah, and then, like, there's me in the corner retching,
And then, like, you know, watching, like, Qwaser the Stigmata, like, we're all sitting around, like, what are the titties gonna do next? Which direction are they gonna go? I don't know, but I kind of want to see this.
Yeah. I think maybe there's something that, for both of us at least, bad anime will always make you laugh.
It does, and it's...
How many times could we watch that first episode of Qwaser and be and still laugh,
and still find new layers,
and still laugh at the fact that the opening of the anime is literally like fucking candles dangling off of boobs.
Oh my god!
And just like I'm not.
They never explain that.
They don't. They don't.
They really don't.
They don't explain it, and that's just how it opens, and you're just like, all right, I guess we're here now. There's some boobs, there's some candles hanging off of them, and one of the boobs just got swatted away, and the candle fell off, and we're like, oh yeah, that's a
It didn't even get swatted away. It was like curtains, just like... Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it was... There was no explanation, and so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if that was going to be our first time watching it, or like our 25th time watching it. I'm going to laugh at that very opening, like, 5 seconds.
So, I guess, like, you know... This is kind of a weird thing to compare it to, but I feel like this is the kind of closest thing we could get within American media. Watching bad anime, because there's so much of it.
Yeah.
And there's so much of it that has, like, a weird budget.
Yeah.
Like, an inexplicable budget. Compared to something like, say, The Room.
Oh, yes.
Where The Room looks like it has absolutely no budget, but meanwhile has a budget. And
apparently it had a lot of budget.
Yeah, but it's such a terrible movie, and you watch that, and you're just like, how? And you're watching this steamy hot pile of garbage that got a documentary adaptation basically led by James Franco, and is now getting a musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like,
And mainly, I think you're right. It is, watching bad anime is like watching cult classic, or cult trash films, because you always laugh at it. It doesn't matter if this was your first time watching The Room or your 500th time watching The Room. When you see...
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, oh, hi, Mark. Or they literally just go onto a rooftop in, like, tuxedos, throw around a football, and then leave. You're just fucking dying of laughter because it makes no fucking sense.
I feel like that is possibly the closest analog we could get as far as just watching bad anime. And I feel like that's the closest thing we can get to explaining that to, like, other people who aren't weebs, and just, like, explain, like, I love this trash. This is my garbage. This is a steaming hot pile of garbage that I'm okay with. Which, speaking of steaming hot pile of garbage that can sometimes be great, let's talk about Gundam after the break.
Welcome back, everyone. So, we talked about some bad anime just now, but let's talk about some better anime. So, Joe, how much do you love Gundam?
A whole lot. I would say an unhealthy amount.
I would agree.
Yeah. I like giant robots.
Yeah.
I like, you know, the moment like Gundam Wing came on, there was something in young Joe's brain that just flipped. And it was just like, yo, I am going to watch every giant robot anime there is.
And so little Joe did.
And
that was the beginning.
And Gundam has always held, like, this very, very special place in my heart. Because, like, its stories always had, like, you know, back when young Joe watched a lot of these stories, like, they always had, like, a hint of, like, you know, kind of realism to it. A kind of hint of, like, you know, humanness to it. That a lot of super robot shows just didn't have. Like, you know, it's like you watch, like, was it Gal Gaigar, and it's just like, no. You watch Mazinger Z, and it's like, okay, it's a super robot, and this is made by Gundam Guy, same creator as Devilman Crybaby, but it doesn't have any of the Devilman Crybaby really in it. I mean, kind of, but not really. Or, like, Robotech, and Macross. Like, I could not get into Macross no matter how hard I tried. The idols just never clicked for me. It just never clicked. But Gundam was fantastic.
There's also something about Gundam that you particularly liked.
Oh, it was...
And and that was the fact that it was very marketable to children and adults, in that there are toys. And not only are there toys, they're toys that you build.
It's fucking robot Legos, and much better designed robot Legos.
I would disagree, because Legos like to stay together.
Got me there. So, like, a lot of my love from Gundam definitely came from, like, the plastic models. Basically, like, the Gunpla, as we're going to go ahead and call them. The Gunpla.
The Gunpla.
So, like, the Gunpla was, like, my biggest thing about, like, Gundam that I really, really liked, especially as a young kid who liked making things, who liked doing art and still do. There's something about that I just find enjoyable. So, when I found out that there was an anime of Gundam where the whole shtick was like children building and customizing their own Gundams and then bringing them to life to then fight the ever-loving shit out of each other, it's just like, it's all the action and violence of Gundam without any of the people getting hurt and without any of the emotional trauma along with that.
Yeah.
And they now released their latest iteration, Gundam Build Divers, which is now like isekai, but without the isekai part.
Yeah. So basically, the original Gundam Build Fighters.
Yeah.
Came out in 2016?
It was like 2014.
Okay, 2014.
Yeah.
You didn't start watching it until like last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't into it, but you know what? Joe really liked it. Joe liked it a lot. But Joe just presented to me today Gundam Build Divers, and he was like, look at this, I'm ramming this in your face and making you watch this. So I'll preface this, I'm not a huge Gundam fan. I loved G Gundam when it was on Toonami. That was amazing. I have built a few Gundams with Joe because, well, heck, I like making things. I like art. I might as well heckin' do it. And also, I like the bear guys. The little bear ones. They're really cute. They're really cute, and I love them. So, you know, I'm like a amateur coming into Gundam. So this is, you're getting the perspective of a diehard Gundam fan, and the perspective of a Gundam
person
viewer.
Yes.
So yeah. So tell us a little bit about Gundam Build Divers.
So, unlike kind of the previous Gundam Build Fighters, which were basically sports anime, with the first one being a little bit more Yu-Gi-Oh-esque because there was just like weird plot shit happening, but still very much like, you know, oh, we're practicing and we're gonna go into this tournament, yeah. And then the second one, Build Fighters Try, was definitely like, we're basically like, you know, Haikyuu, but we build Gundams. Now this one is like, we're basically the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it's Duelist Kingdom, and now you play this MMO where you scan in your customized Gunpla, and then you pilot it in this MMO world. And, you know, it's like, oh, you can go ahead and go here and, like, you know, fight each other, blah, blah, blah. And then other people can come in and fuck with you because it's an MMO. Of course people are going to come in and fuck with you. And, like, the way it presents itself is, like, it's so, like, the fact that they go into the virtual reality, it is just that. It's just so detached from reality. I felt like that was the problem with, like, the first two seasons, was that it still had to kind of, like, tether itself back. It had to be like, oh, we gotta connect this back to, like, real world shit. It's like here, like, oh no, because it's a virtual reality, anybody can have any kind of avatar they want. Like, you know, they can look like Char, they can look like, Mika, or they can be a weasel and pilot a mobile suit as a weasel. And that was when I feel like the show kind of hooked me, because the sheer, like, absurdity of, like, a weasel with a really deep, like, general voice piloting a mobile suit and being like, you fight good, you fight with, like, the heart of a man. And I'm just like, shut up, you're adorable.
So I like to point this out. This is really interesting to me that so usually Gundam anime is its own thing. It is in the big mech, big fighting robot genre. That's its own thing. In the Gundam Build universe, in the Gundam Build animes, the first 2 seasons, the Build Fighters, take place in the sports anime genre, back in a time where the sports anime was the thing. It was the flavor of the seasons.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, it was like Haikyuu, but with Gunpla. And now we're in 2018, where the isekai genre is huge, which, for those of you who don't know, that's the genre of anime where insert character goes into virtual world or is just stuck in fantasy virtual world, which is kind of like that Ready Player One kind of esque feel, the Sword Art Online. This is that. They have that virtual world, but also the main character himself is not stuck in this world by any means, but the majority of the anime is going to be taking place within that MMO, so it is kind of getting that isekai, like you said, without being isekai, which is kind of refreshing, because it is tedious to watch anime after anime where mysteriously anime character, nameless person, gets dropped off in fantasy world, and now here we are. It's like, no, he's just, it's more like the Ready Player One, where he has an outside life, not really, just enough for him to not be stuck in this world.
And, the thing I really like about the Gundam Build universe, because, I love my fair share of, a lot of the more serious-toned Gundam. Iron Blood Orphans is my top favorite.
Of course.
And, those are so, hard-bent on using, the Gundams themselves as just kind of, metaphors for things. Or just kind of like in the original anime, it was oh, these are giant war machines. In Iron Blood Orphans, these are demons. These are things that should be feared. When you go into the Build universe, because it's just basically I'm not going to defend it. It is very much a shameless, sort of by Gunpla sort of thing. It's like a G.I. Joe basically sort of thing, and that's kind of okay, because I feel it takes a lot of those parts of Gundam that I said, I really, really like. I like the the fights. I really like that. But sometimes I don't want to think about the fact that oh wow, Mika is a horrible sociopath whose only goal in life is to just murder other people. It's here it's no, it's a game. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of Gundam where it's political intrigue, it's drama, it's this, that, and the other. And this is Gundam Light.
Yeah.
Lite. We're here for the giant robots, but also it's a fun kiddie anime. And it really is a kids anime. This one, Gundam Build Divers.
Oh yes. The fact that they go to the Gundam store where that's the only place that they can go to fucking play the game, and they're oh, you can only play 2 hours a day, you gotta do so after your homework.
Yeah.
And it's oh my god.
Yeah, so let's go into a little bit with the characters on that. So it's kind of starring these two 13-year-old boys, 14-year-old boys. They're really good at soccer. They're really good at doing their homework.
Oh, yeah.
They're just really good boys. And then they go to the Gundam store and they build their Gundams, and it's really nice. And the girl who works at the Gundam store knows nothing about Gundams, but she makes sure they eat their vegetables. Literally hands them tomatoes, and they eat the tomatoes. I don't. So it really kind of drives home of this is a anime for little kids to watch. It's very wholesome.
It's very wholesome.
At least this first episode is so very wholesome. And it's actually really nice. It's really nice that it's like, wow, you can come off of like all these other Gundam series where it's really dark and bleak and, you know, space is a terrible, scary thing, and you're like, oh, make sure to do your homework and eat your vegetables.
It's like, it's a nice palate cleanser.
Yeah, it is. And so the one thing that I liked about this, and why I might actually really like this show, is that it's very Yu-Gi-Oh-esque in that way. The original Yu-Gi-Oh was kind of, it's your Saturday or your weekday afternoon television. You know, I think when I was about to say Saturday morning, I realized that Saturday morning is where you get the more action stuff and like cool, you know, this is like the weekday afternoon where we're about to partake in some good wholesome shows that remind you to do your homework. You know, like I really find it funny. But so the other thing that I kind of liked about it was that it was very Yu-Gi-Oh! in that very shonen tropey, the shonen tropes of like the bad guys have big, you know, hoods and like wavy cloaks. And you know, the main protagonists are just small little boys who are gonna go on an adventure, and it's a good wholesome adventure. Woo woo woo! Except, just kidding. Now there's like weird magic stuff happening, and like if they introduce something that is like the Shadow Realm, or like the if you die in the game, you die for real.
Oh my
god.
God.
Raising that Yu-Gi-Oh! Stakes, I will be into it. I will be so into it, because that's the thing.
Don't forget to do your homework, and also don't fucking die.
Don't die in the game or you'll die for real. Yuck. Yeah, no, that's the thing, is that like what I loved so much about the original Yu-Gi-Oh! And I very much specify, like, original Yu-Gi-Oh! All the others are terrible, die mad about it, was that it was this, like, wow, we're playing a card game, except now we're not anymore. It's live or die, bitch. Like, it is literally like, man, we're playing a wholesome, cute little kids card game. Just kidding, I'm about to send your ass to the Shadow Realm.
What does the Shadow Realm mean?
Shadow Realm, Joe! Shadow Realm!
Here's a hint. It means you're fucking dead.
But still susceptible to come back to life. So, you know, it's not quite dead. It's not quite dead.
It's not quite dead.
It's just a coma.
It's just a coma.
It's just a possibly irreversible coma.
Oh my god.
So that's the thing that I want to see more animes like come back with this, of like the very corny, cheesy Shadow Realm like level of challenge of like, listen, you don't need to like make up some weird gritty like edgy stuff to be like, oh, this is why you can't, you know, you gotta win, or, you know, stuff like that. It's like, no, just introduce a Shadow Realm, just put a Shadow Realm in this MMO that these kids are playing in Gundam Build Drivers, and like if they lose a Gundam battle, they just are possibly dead and have to be resurrected with the 7 Dragon Balls.
Oh my god. I mean, you know, I feel like that's not the way it's gonna turn out.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But I'm here for that kind of trope.
Oh yeah.
And that I know what I'm getting into as far as this anime goes. I know that I'm getting into this. It's very cheesy and wholesome, regular shonen trope, and you know what, it's not trying to hide it and really, that's fine. Like,
I feel like, you know, there are some anime, like, you know, and I'm probably gonna ruffle a couple of feathers here, but it's like, you know, things like Attack on Titan, where it's like, you know, it's shonen, it's like, it's Game of Thrones of anime. It's like, no, it's not. And
they have all plot armor, and like, you know, it's very, it's trying not to be, but it totally is shonen.
And then like Black Clover, which is like, you know, it's like, it's Naruto but wizards, and also the main protagonist can't stop fucking yelling. And
yeah, like and that's the thing is that like there's things like Black Clover, Attack on Titan, and Naruto that do get very dark in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And like they're not fun, goofy young child shonen. They're more like teenage shonen where like they are trying to be a little bit more than that regular label.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of really here for the 10-year-olds shonen, 10-year-olds for shonen, where don't forget to eat your vegetables and do your homework before 5 o'clock or mommy's gonna beat you. Just kidding. You're just gonna be really bad at Gundam.
So, like, the other thing, kind of about this is, like, well, one, I gotta talk about my favorite boy.
Yes.
In this, first episode. His name's Maggie.
Maggie. Magee.
And he's like, you know, he's a player who he's like a super high ranking player.
Yeah, he's like 23rd in the world as far as like rank, and yet he meets these like these two newbies, these level 1s, and it's just like, I'm gonna show you around and show you how to do the first level, like the first mission. Come on, let's go, it'll be really fun. By the way, I'm gay.
Like, and that's just it, is like, you know, he's so gay, but without being like the tropey, like creepy gay, you know?
Yeah, he's just regular flamboyant.
And it's so refreshing.
This standard flamboyant.
I love him, and the fact that, like, you know, he looks like a JoJo character just transported to the Gundam realm.
In fact, he literally looks like a JoJo, and he also looks like a Joe, because he's got long hair and a ponytail, and now Joe wants to dye his hair lavender, and I can't imagine why he wants to do that. It couldn't at all be he wants to look exactly like Maggie.
Well, excuse me for loving Maggie. Excuse me.
So that's the thing, is that so Maggie is this character who's very flamboyant and very rambunctious, and he is also wholesome. And that's the thing, is that like when you first see that flamboyant character in an anime, you're like, okay, where's this gonna go though? Like, what's the catch?
What's the catch? Whose crotch is he gonna grab inappropriately, or like, you know, whose butt is he gonna spank or something like that?
Yeah, but with the fact, knowing that this anime is as childish and as age appropriate as it is, we're probably not gonna see that.
And that's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good.
But we're also gonna try to temper our expectations, because, you know, we gays are used to having to do that, having to deal with, okay, what's the catch?
Yeah.
When are they gonna die? When are they gonna grope someone inappropriately? When are they gonna become creepy? What's the catch?
Yeah.
And I posit to you, Joe, that the catch of this gay character is that his avatar the avatar is Maggie, but the IRL person behind Maggie is a woman.
You know,
and in fact, might be the woman who works at the store.
Oh, fuck.
Who knows nothing about Gundam, or seemingly knows nothing about Gundam. In fact, at one point, she literally says, I know nothing about Gundam, but I can tell that was built with a lot of love.
Fuck. Dude, oh. Damn it. I think you called it. Okay, regardless, it's still very wholesome, but... Ah, shit, I kind of lost, like, one of my big reasons.
Well, give me what your headcanon is. What is the reason why you think is the catch for this character, or not catch for this character?
I feel like there's not really a catch, because it's like, you know, I feel like it's kind of playing with those expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, you know, even the writers, when they were writing this character, were like, we're gonna make him, like, really flamboyant, really girly and stuff, and everybody's gonna be thinking, like, oh, it's gotta be a girl, and then, like, maybe what you were saying, like, you know, maybe, like, you know, the kids will be like, we gotta find out the real identity of Maggie. We gotta find out who that person is.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my god, is it the Gunpla store girl? And then in comes Maggie, looking exactly like his avatar, like, I'm gay! Really?
Yeah, like, the only difference is the hair color.
Yeah, like, that is the only thing that I think would happen. Like, that is the way I think it's gonna happen. Like, they're probably thinking, like, Maggie can't be a guy. It's gotta be a girl. His name's Maggie, after all. It's like, there's no way. It turns out, no, that's him. That's actually him. He was born that way. And I really want that. And I hope that it's gonna be it. But leading off of that, because I like, they're gonna build franchise a lot, but I've always had like a lot of questions about this because like the Gundam build things are very much geared towards kids, and the thing is, like, they name drop a lot of the other Gundam series a lot.
Oh, yeah, no, like, it's entirely about building Gunpla, which are all based on the different animes and, like, the different Gundam animes. So, like, every time they see another Gundam, they're like, wow, that's the 00 Gundam from the 00 series, or this is this Gundam from that series. Like, oh my god, it's this character. They really do go at it, and it's very advertising friendly.
It's very advertising friendly for its own fucking, like, brand.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think about that because I'm thinking, like, for, like, the kids who are watching this, the kids who are, like, they're getting their homework done before, like, 5 o'clock or something, and then when the Iron-Blooded Orphans, like, suit comes on, and, like, wow, that's the Gundam Astaroth for Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, and little Timmy-san is like, oh, I want to go watch Iron-Blooded Orphans, and the first 3 episodes has, like, a violent coup led by, like, child soldiers where they gun down several different adults, and they're just like, like, there's this weird kind of, like, I guess it's like, it's a good entry point. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I might be giving a little too much credit to, like, kids' curiosity. But it's like, at the same time, it's just like, imagine for a second there, if, like, if you're a parent who doesn't know any better, if you're a parent who doesn't really know Gundam, and they see that, and they're like, oh, this is a nice, wholesome thing. Yeah, I mean, Iron-Blooded Orphan sounds a little bit weird of a title, but, like, hot-blooded, maybe that's what it means. Like, maybe it's gonna be what, oh my god!
Oh my god, that's death and blood.
That's a lot of death and blood. Like, actually, Iron-Blooded Orphans got into, like, a heap of controversy when it first aired. Mm-hmm. And with the Japanese censorship bureau, because it did show, again, like, a systematic hostage situation and murder of the adults who ran the PMC company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, they were like, this was on, like, prime time, like, kids are still up to watch this. And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So that's the thing, is that, like, you're very much right. Like, a lot of the Gundam build universe is advertising for other Gundam franchise to children who may not necessarily be of age to watch other Gundams.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just our Americanist perspective.
Yeah, I feel like that is. And
it might be, it might not be, but it's kind of hard to tell.
It's kind of hard to tell because, I mean, like, there is the fact that, like, the Japanese censorship bureau really did fucking blow a stink about, like, Iron-Blooded Orphans.
Yeah.
And also the fact that, like, again, I feel like, I hate to sound condescending, but I feel like I am giving a little too much credit to, like, like, a child's attention span. Because it's like, I know if I'm, like, 8 years old or something watching Gundam build, like, build divers or build fighters, when they're mentioning, like, the fucking other titles and stuff, it's like, I don't fucking care. I'm like, show me 00 Diver fucking slicing that Gundam in half.
Yeah.
And, that's the thing that I think is, like, maybe I am giving a little too much credit to that.
Yeah. Maybe it's more of just, hey, look at this, look at this Gundam, and if you're interested, here's what it's called, so you can go buy the Gunpla.
True.
Because literally the end of the anime, like, shows you the Gundam boxes. like, oh, if you're interested in, buying Riku's Gundam 00, here it is. You can buy it now.
Here it is.
Like, that's the other thing, is that this this anime is very upfront about the fact that this is an advertisement
Oh, it
for
is.
Gundam.
Oh, it is.
It's an advertisement for you to go buy the kits and build them yourself. You want to find out how to build Riku's Gundam? Here's how you do it.
And, like, there's something so weird about this because, like, there's a part of me that's, like, you know, obviously, like, I'm very much like, capitalism sucks. But then I'm also the same person who's just like, this is fucking awesome.
Also, meanwhile, we compare this to Yu-Gi-Oh!, which, again, is another anime of, like, wow, you like this anime? Buy the trading cards.
Yeah.
Or Digimon, or Pokemon, or...
Literally any of our childhood anime experiences was just like, here's a shit ton of toys.
Yeah, it's like, and then also consider the fact that we both love Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which was also, you know, profits off of merchandise.
So, like I really, and that's just it, is like, I feel like the Gundam Build series has such a neat little exception space in my heart. Because it's just like, there's something just so wholesome about this, and there's something that I do like about the idea that, like, they're not just encouraging, like, you know, oh, buy this pre-built toy, or buy this. It's like, no. Buy this kit, which is highly customizable, paint it the way you want. Make it look like this. Make it your own.
Put love into it.
Oh, that was my favorite line from that fucking thing. It's like, you know, there are 3 things that are important to a Gundam pilot. Skill, tenaciousness, and love. I'm just like, oh.
Quote from Maggie, the gay one. Because, of course. Yeah, so you know, it's... I mean, what we're saying is, we really liked watching a 30-minute long commercial, and so should you.
Yeah. Alright, do we have another topic?
Did you want to talk about news?
Nah.
Yeah, so, you know, we had some good talks about some bad anime and some maybe bad talks about some good anime or just good talks about good and bad anime. I don't know, you guys be the judge of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's like, you know, we're talking about hyper-consumerism and that just like seeping into our children's brains being like, buy the kits.
Late stage capitalism at its finest. Anyway, Joe, I think that about wraps up this podcast.
That it does. So Em, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Malacology on Twitch and Twitter and YouTube. I am starting to stream. It's actually happening. Ya boy streamed last week, impromptu. And I'm probably going to do some impromptu streaming. So if you're interested, just, you know, like, follow me at Malacology, and I will work on a schedule eventually and figure out how we're going to make that work. But, yeah, I'm just gonna start streaming, and you guys can join me anytime.
Hell yeah. And then, of course, me, Joe, you can find me at Just Joe Let's Play on Twitter. You can find me at Just Joe Stars on Twitch. And then, of course, here on Paragade, you can find me writing semi-regularly. I do want to write something about Gundam in the near future.
Of course you will.
Listen,
it's inevitable.
It really is, and I mean, I was trying to make it a rule to not talk about Gundam, but it's like the moment like Gundam Build Divers came on, it's like, nope, that rule's going out the window.
That was a rule.
It was a self-appointed rule by myself. I was like, I'm gonna hold off on this until like maybe the 100th episode, and I realized that's too long. I love this anime too much.
That is very presumptuous.
Yeah, it really was. So I broke that. I broke that rule for myself. But yeah, so anyway, that about does it. Also, the intro and outro song is Pants by Here Come the Mummies. Check them out on Amazon, iTunes, wherever you find music. And in particular, this song is fantastic. So anyway, thank you all so much for listening. And as always tip your waiters 50%. Bye-bye.